Have you ever imagined what would happen if the secrets of the heavens were revealed by an ordinary man? And what if I told you that this story is not only real, but recorded in a book as ancient as it is mysterious, one that remained hidden from most traditions for centuries? The Book of Enoch, a text dismissed by many and ignored by others, contains within its pages chilling visions, celestial encounters, and prophecies that still echo through the corridors of time. Imagine a man just like you and me, walking among the living, but with his eyes fixed on the invisible. A man who not only heard the voice of God, but walked with him in complete communion, receiving instructions directly from the heavenly throne. Enoch, or Enoch the Righteous, as he came to be known, didn't just live an exemplary life. He was taken, lifted into heaven without tasting death, crossing the veil of ordinary reality to enter a domain where few have dared to go. In this video, we go far beyond simple curiosities. We draw back the curtain, hiding the darkest and most revealing secrets of a time before the flood, when fallen angels walked among men and shared forbidden knowledge, altering the destiny of humanity forever. You'll discover who the Watchers were, those mysterious, celestial beings who broke divine order and united with the daughters of men, giving rise to the feared Nephilim, giants of immense strength and corrupted souls. But what's most striking in this narrative isn't just the presence of the supernatural, it's the weight of justice, the looming judgment, and Enoch's central role as a messenger between the divine and the profane, the eternal and the earthly. As we dive into the hidden pages of the Book of Enoch, we encounter visions so intense they challenge logic and test faith. Revelations that not only shock, but also unveil a concealed divine pattern. The time of God's patience, the warning before the fall, the opportunity for repentance before judgment. Through Enoch, we understand that heaven is not just a place of glory and light. It is a place of order, discipline, and consequences. The Watchers, those sent to observe, ended up violating sacred boundaries. They taught humans secrets never meant to be known: sorcery, astrology, alchemy, weaponry, knowledge that hastened the earth's corruption. But Enoch, chosen by God, was sent to these very beings to declare divine judgment. Imagine the weight of that mission. A man standing before fallen angels, announcing eternal condemnation for breaking their covenant with the Most High. Enoch didn't just witness, he wrote. His words are echoes from heaven, filled with authority and awe. His accounts transport us to celestial courtrooms where angels tremble and stars observe in silence. The Book of Enoch reveals that humanity's story is deeply intertwined with invisible conflicts of the spiritual realm. Every step we take on Earth, every choice made by our ancestors has been watched, recorded, and often influenced by forces far beyond our understanding. Enoch is briefly mentioned in Genesis 5 or 24, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. But what seems like just a footnote in the scriptures reveals itself as the tip of a colossal iceberg of mysteries when we turn to ancient writings that were hidden for centuries. What really happened to Enoch? How could a human being simply vanish from the earth, taken by God, without ever experiencing death? This isn't just an anomaly in biblical storytelling, it's a direct challenge to our understanding of life, death, and what lies beyond. The Book of Enoch presents itself as the key that unlocks this door to the unknown, bringing to light disturbing and fascinating visions. Within its pages, we find vivid descriptions of celestial journeys, encounters with spiritual beings, and revelations that upend everything we thought we knew about heaven, justice, and the fate of humanity. Enoch wasn't a mere witness. He was an active participant in the divine plan, a bridge between God and both the visible and invisible realms. He walked among the portals that opened between worlds, saw the backstage of creation, and witnessed the judgment reserved for those who transgress the divine order. His experiences not only expand the biblical narrative, but they unveil a complex spiritual structure where every human action is observed, every choice carries weight, and no secret remains hidden forever. The Book of Enoch takes us beyond the traditional pages of the Bible, immersing us in dimensions where time bends and space is shaped by the will of the Creator. Here, angels are not just messengers of light, but also central figures in a celestial rebellion that triggered catastrophic consequences for Earth. According to the account, angels known as the Watchers were sent to observe humanity, but they became corrupted by their desire for the daughters of men. They crossed a sacred line, taught forbidden knowledge, and gave birth to hybrid offspring, the Nephilim. The earth became filled with violence, corruption, and destruction, and it was in this darkened world that Enoch received his divine mission. He didn't merely witness these events. He was summoned by God to intercede, to record, and most importantly, to announce judgment. Imagine the weight of standing before powerful beings, created before time itself, and declaring to them that their fate was sealed. Enoch did not falter. He wrote books, revealed what he had seen, and left us a legacy that continues to echo across generations that dare to seek the forgotten truths. His writings show that heaven is not just a throne of glory, but also a courtroom of judgment, where even angelic beings are held accountable for their actions. The visions Enoch shares are not allegories. They are spiritual testimonies of a man who pierced the veil of the unknown and returned with answers. Answers that disturb, challenge, and at the same time illuminate the path of truth for those who still have ears to hear. In Enoch 1 verse 9, we find one of the most striking and powerful passages in all apocalyptic literature. And behold, he comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all. This statement, full of weight and solemnity, was not confined to texts considered apocryphal. It resurfaces centuries later in the pages of the New Testament, specifically in Jude 1:14-15, with almost identical wording. This repetition is no accident. It is a clear sign that the early Christians not only knew the Book of Enoch, but regarded it as a legitimate source of divine revelation. The direct citation of Enoch's prophecy in the New Testament compels us to reconsider the significance and authority of these ancient writings. If Jude, the brother of James, and likely the brother of Jesus, made a point of recording this prophecy in his short yet intense letter, it is because he saw in it an essential truth about the final judgment and the role of the holy ones in carrying out divine justice. This connection serves as a bridge between the Old and New Testaments, between what was hidden and what was revealed, reinforcing the idea that the divine plan unfolds in a continuous narrative that spans ages and traditions. The verse from Enoch, with its dramatic announcement of God's glorious and terrifying return accompanied by countless holy beings, is not just a prediction, it is a warning. It brings forth the image of a cosmic judgment, where no being, whether human or celestial, escapes the scale of justice. By echoing this vision in the New Testament, Jude not only endorses Enoch as a prophet, but also confirms that the early Christian community recognized the spiritual and theological validity of these revelations. This detail, often overlooked, completely transforms how we interpret the biblical canon. It shows us that there was a living, active tradition that preserved teachings deemed essential, even if they were not officially canonized later. The ancient wisdom of Enoch, therefore, did not vanish. It was carried in the words of the apostles, hidden between the lines of faith, and resurfaces today with an unsettling force. After all, if the judgment described by Enoch is still to come, then his words are more relevant than ever. They speak not only of a future divine intervention, but of an eternal standard of justice that demands righteousness, integrity, and reverence before the sacred. Jude's mention acts like a spiritual seal that authenticates Enoch's prophecy and places it once again before our eyes, calling for attention, reflection, and preparation for what is to come. The Book of Enoch dives deep into a dark and long-forgotten narrative, revealing a celestial rebellion that shook the very foundation of the ancient. According to this ancient text, mighty angels known as the Watchers descended to earth in a distant era, drawn by the beauty of human women. But this was not mere admiration, it was a deliberate fall. These angels not only took human wives, but also shared forbidden knowledge with mankind. These secrets ranged from the crafting of weapons like swords and shields to enchantments, astrology, sorcery, and even the art of seduction and vanity. The result of this forbidden exchange was catastrophic. Humanity, once living under a natural order, began to spiral into chaos. War, lust, idolatry, and destruction. The very purity of creation was tainted, and from this unholy union came the Nephilim, massive giants, violent beings that consumed everything in their path, even human life. These creatures didn't just dominate physically, they brought spiritual corruption that spread like wildfire through early civilization. This chilling story is far from a standalone myth. It connects directly with Genesis 6:1-4, where the sons of God are said to have taken human wives, producing a hybrid race of powerful beings. The biblical text, though brief and cryptic, lays the foundation for what the Book of Enoch elaborates on in great detail. In both Jewish tradition and segments of early Christianity, these sons of God were understood to be the very fallen angels, the Watchers, who defied divine command and handed forbidden knowledge to mankind. This alignment of ancient texts shows that early writers regarded the presence of the Nephilim and the rebellion of the Watchers as both historical and spiritual events of deep significance. They explained the level of corruption that eventually led God to cleanse the earth with a great flood. The fall of the Watchers is not just a story of sin, it's a portrayal of an interdimensional war, where celestial beings sought to alter the destiny of humanity. The result was an ethical, physical, and spiritual collapse that demanded a decisive divine response. The narrative of Enoch offers the missing pieces needed to fully understand this shadowy chapter of Scripture, expanding our view of what truly occurred before the flood, and why divine justice had to act with such severity. This lost link between heaven and earth invites us to reflect on the limits of knowledge, the dangers of disobedience, and the hidden power of forgotten truths. Enoch was not merely a silent witness to the chaos caused by the Watchers. He was chosen by God to intercede, judge, and reveal the paths of eternal justice. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 15, we see something profound. While the fallen angels are judged and condemned for their rebellion, Enoch is called to be the mediator between the heavens and the angels. This completely inverts the usual logic. A human, mortal being is appointed by God to deliver judgment to celestial beings who have disobeyed. Enoch assumes a unique position in the spiritual realm. He becomes the messenger of eternal justice, the spokesman of divine righteousness, confronting the transgressors from the heavens directly. In this moment, God affirms that the angels were created to remain in the heavens, not to mingle with humans or generate offspring. Humanity, on the other hand, was made to inhabit the earth and live in harmony with creation. This breakdown of cosmic order is what drives the condemnation, and Enoch is the one who pronounces this decision. But there's something even deeper in this moment. The concept of justice presented here is not merely moral, in the sense of right and wrong for humans. It's a cosmic justice based on the harmony between realms, on the balance of the roles of created beings and the maintenance of universal order. When the angels taught humans what was forbidden, they didn't just sin, they corrupted the very foundations of reality. Enoch is instructed to declare that the spirits of the Nephilim, even after the death of their giant bodies, will continue to wander the earth as evil spirits. This creates a direct connection between the rebellion of the Watchers and the origin of demons. According to the Book of Enoch, these spirits are the cause of temptations, spiritual oppression, violence, and everything that leads humanity astray from the light. In this way, the evil that began with an impure desire in the hearts of celestial beings still echoes today through these wandering spirits. And it is at this point that Enoch emerges not merely as a prophet, but as a messianic figure, one who represents justice on behalf of the Most High. He is reminded that humanity was created in the image of God to walk in righteousness, to rule over creation justly, and to embody the principles of heaven on earth. While the angels fell by seeking to experience what was not permitted to them, humanity is exalted when it chooses the path of obedience. The book shows us that true glory is not found in power or hidden knowledge, but in aligning with the divine will. This message, though ancient, resonates with a haunting force today. How often do we seek knowledge, success, or spiritual experiences outside of God's direction? How often do we ignore the limits that have been set for our own good? The story of Enoch warns us that there is a fine line between the sacred and the profane, and crossing it has eternal consequences. Still, there is hope. Just as Enoch was taken by God, there is a promise for those who persevere in justice, that they will be protected, elevated, and participants in the judgment that is to come. As the Watchers were imprisoned and the giants destroyed, Enoch was taken in spirit to witness the heavens. He saw the abodes of the righteous, the flames of condemnation, and the secrets of time. Enoch shows us that there is far more between heaven and earth than our eyes can perceive. He didn't just report, he lived the visions of the end. While the Watchers faced their eternal imprisonment and the giants, the Nephilim, were destroyed, Enoch was elevated to a transcendental state of vision that allowed him to behold the mysteries of heaven and earth. He was no longer just a mere observer. He became part of a reality beyond human comprehension, where time and space intertwine in mysterious ways. Enoch was taken in spirit to witness the celestial realm, where he saw the abodes of the righteous, places of peace and eternal light, prepared for those who walked in righteousness. He also witnessed the blazing flames of condemnation, where the fallen angels and the wicked await their final punishment. These images are not mere metaphors, but representations of God's cosmic order, where good and evil have eternal consequences. Enoch, when transported to these spiritual realms, was able to access the deepest secrets of time, a vision that transcends what any human could understand without being directly touched by God's hand. He saw the beginning and the end, the past and the future, with a clarity that would challenge our own perception of reality. This glimpse into the heavens was not only for Enoch's benefit, but for all of God's people. He returned with a detailed account of eternal truths, revealing that heaven is not a distant and disconnected place, but a living and intimate dimension, where human destinies are decided and where every action has its reflection in the higher realms. By recounting his journey, Enoch teaches us that there is much more between heaven and earth than our physical eyes can perceive. The invisible world, which we often ignore or disregard, is equally real and influential in our lives. But the most striking thing is that Enoch was not just a passive spectator of these visions. He didn't simply report what he saw, but he lived the experiences of the end, not in the sense of merely anticipating the final judgment, but as someone who was transported into that apocalyptic future, who experienced it vividly and personally. He became an intermediary between heaven and earth, a messenger who lived the fate of all things in order to announce it to mankind. Enoch shows us that the end is not a distant and uncertain event, but a reality that is already in motion, influencing the present in ways that often escape our understanding. He lived the spiritual consequences of the world's corruption and at the same time, the blessings of righteousness, offering a clear vision of what awaits those who choose to follow God's justice. In doing so, he challenges us to look beyond appearances and recognize that what we see in our physical world is only a small fraction of the true spiritual reality that surrounds us. The path of justice, as revealed by Enoch, is not an easy one, nor is it widely recognized. On the contrary, it is narrow, silent, and often ignored by the majority. Enoch, after contemplating visions of heaven and judgment, understood that the true path of righteousness is rarely followed because it requires a spiritual discipline that goes against the natural impulses of humanity. This path is not marked by great celebrities or wealth, nor is it paraded on the broad avenues of the world. Instead, it is a solitary and challenging path where faith is tested, where the temptations of the world often seem irresistible, and where the righteous, more often than not, find themselves in the minority, facing misunderstanding, contempt, and even persecution. What Enoch reveals is that, although the path of justice is hard and not appealing to those who seek the immediate rewards of the world, it guarantees an eternal reward and a preservation that transcends temporary adversity. He teaches us that while the wicked, those who choose the path of corruption, pride, and disobedience, will fall before God's judgment, the righteous will be preserved, even if they seem to fail or be defeated by the circumstances of this world. This fundamental truth of Enoch echoes directly the words of Jesus in Matthew 7:13-14, where he speaks of the narrow way that leads to life. Jesus also warns that this path is difficult to find and follow, and few are those who find it. This connection between Enoch's words and Jesus's is not accidental. Both messages reveal to us that true life, life in harmony with God's will, is not accessible to everyone, and the choices we make on our spiritual journey will determine our final destination. Enoch, with his cosmic vision of judgment, reinforces the same idea. Although the righteous may seem small or neglected, In the face of the apparent prosperity of the wicked, their faithfulness will be rewarded and their preservation will be guaranteed by divine mercy and justice. The path of justice, no matter how difficult and solitary it may seem, is the one that leads to true life, to life that transcends death, to the end of evil, and to the entrance into the heavenly realms. Therefore, what Enoch reveals to us is not only a warning, but a deep hope for those who choose with courage and faith to walk the path of righteousness, knowing that, although narrow, it is the only one that leads to eternal life and the restoration of all things. The message of Enoch carries within it a powerful duality, a relentless warning and an irresistible invitation. The warning is clear and strong, aimed at those who dabble in the occult and disrespect the divine boundaries. Throughout his journey, Enoch witnessed the disobedience of the Watchers and the devastating impact their actions had on humanity. He saw firsthand how the abuse of spiritual power and the desire to transcend the established limits set by God resulted not only in the destruction of celestial beings, but also in the downfall of mankind, who succumbed to forbidden teachings, black magic, violence, and chaos. These fallen angels who defied the cosmic order are the embodiment of all those who try to manipulate the supernatural without respect for the divine consequences. Enoch, therefore, becomes a warning to all who flirt with the dark forces, those who ignore God's warnings and believe they can escape unscathed by breaking the sacred boundaries. He reveals that such arrogance will not go unanswered, and though God's judgment may seem delayed, it will be inevitable. On the other hand, the message of Enoch also serves as a profound invitation to those who seek the truth, even when it hides in the shadows. In his visions, Enoch not only reveals judgment and destruction, but also offers the opportunity to understand divine mysteries, to see beyond the tangible reality, and to walk in the light of true wisdom. He challenges us not to fear difficult questions, unresolved mysteries, and truths that are hard to accept. Instead, he invites us to seek the knowledge that comes from God, to see the world as it truly is, and to live according to divine justice, even when it means walking a narrow and difficult path. The invitation is for those who, like Enoch, are willing to separate themselves from the rest of the world, to walk a path of righteousness, and to face spiritual realities without veering off or being corrupted by fleeting temptations. Enoch reminds us that God's truth is not something that will always be easy to find or comprehend. It is often hidden in the shadows, beyond the world's view. But for those who sincerely seek, it will be revealed. Thus, Enoch's message not only warns us about the dangers of defying divine limits, but also opens our eyes to the necessity of a constant search for truth, no matter how hidden it may be. True spiritual knowledge is not something that can be found on the surface or in easy promises. It is a hidden treasure that requires effort, discernment, and often the courage to walk alone. Enoch, as a witness and intermediary, shows us that while the path to truth may be difficult and the spiritual challenges immense, it is the only one that leads to true life, a life that transcends death, corruption, and evil, and connects us with the eternal. Can you hear the call of justice? Enoch heard it, and his life was never the same. The response to this call is not simple, nor is it always comfortable, but it deeply transforms those who hear it. Enoch's journey is not limited to what he lived through, but carries a message that transcends time, one that resonates even today, announcing that the time is closing in and that judgment is at hand. What Enoch witnessed was not just a glimpse of the past, but a prophecy of what is to come. He saw the end of times and the return of divine judgment. He heard the cry of the heavens and became a channel for this revelation, not only for the men of his time, but for all who would come after him. The cycles of disobedience and redemption repeat, and the end of each cycle draws near. The judgment will be executed, and justice will be restored. But the great question that lies before each of us is, are you prepared to walk with God as Enoch walked? Are you willing to hear the call and live the transformation it brings? Enoch's journey was not just a physical journey or a simple spiritual experience. It was a profound transformation where he not only saw what was to come, but also prepared to be part of the divine plan. Enoch was shaped and altered by what he heard and saw, and he became a messenger not just of warnings, but also of hope for all who would choose to follow the path of justice. His story is an invitation to each of us to take our stand before divine truth, so that we may walk in the light of justice and align ourselves with God's eternal purpose. It is not an easy journey, but it is the only one that leads to true life. If you wish to continue unraveling the forgotten truths and hidden mysteries in the ancient books, if you want to dive deeper into what God revealed to the righteous and the prophets, then subscribe now to the Portal of the Unknown. Here, each revelation we bring to light is a portal to a new understanding, a new perspective on what lies behind the curtains of the visible reality. Each video we post is an invitation for you to see beyond the veil, to discover what is hidden in the shadows, in the ancient passages, in the forgotten words. The shadows hold secrets that have the power to transform our perception, our lives, and our destiny. And we are here to bring these secrets to the light so that, like Enoch, you may walk with God and understand the eternal truths he revealed to his righteous ones.